some of our audience telling me about their experiences with cheats and unscrupulous people. Now, there was one elderly man who wrote to me from Virginia, telling me about how his own brother, who was supposed to be supervising the construction of his retirement home in Kaswa, had spent every penny he sent down to Ghana for 3 good years from 2007 to 2010 without buying even one cement block. Instead, this dubious brother kept sending the elderly man pictures of someone else's project to make him think that his house was being built. Now, this had traumatized the man so much that he had not spoken to his brother for 4 years. I received another message from a woman whose own son had organized a gang of armed robbers to raid her home. She was alone in the house when they came, took everything she owned and beat her mercilessly while her son stood outside with his back turned. Since then, she's not been able to stay in that house on her own. A number of you shared with me how your partners, wives, husbands had cheated on you, making you feel like you can never trust another person again. Now, one thing that was obvious to me from all of these messages was that when someone hurts us, the pain can remain for a very long time, and it can be very difficult to get past it and move on, which is very sad because whatever hurts us occurred in a moment, in an instant. But by failing to get past it, we're simply reliving the nightmare moment day after day after day, allowing it to lock us up indefinitely in the prison of our own minds. So today I want to help to see if we can break free from the pain and move on once and for all. This will be a little interactive. Okay, so let's find a sheet of paper wherever you are. Any odd A4 sheet will do. Now, I want you to write the name of the person who has hurt you or cheated on you or done something you can't get over. Write it on that sheet of paper, just the name, nothing more. Okay? Done? I'm going to move on and assume you have. Okay. Now, hold the sheet of paper at arm's length. Stretch your hand out as far out as it will go. If you're not alone and you're worried that it makes you look a bit silly, it's all right. This won't take long, and I promise you will feel better. Okay, now the average A4 sheet weighs about 4.5 grams. Pretty light, isn't it? I bet it feels like you're not holding anything at all in your hand. But what would happen if you held that paper out in that position for 1 minute? Your arm would ache a little, wouldn't it? How about 5 minutes? How about an hour? I bet that would be unbearable. It would feel like your arm was about to fall off. The same 4.5 gram A4 sheet, though. The weight doesn't change, but the longer you hold it out, the more your arm hurts. How about holding it out for a whole day? How about a week, a month, a year? How long have you been holding on to that pain caused by the person who hurt you? How long have you relived the horrifying moment when your trust was betrayed, your peace was violated, your heart was broken? How long? Yeah, I know it hurts, but it only hurts because you're holding on to it. So what are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to get past the pain? Okay, put the paper down and I'll tell you. Well, that's it. You just did it. You just did the one simple thing necessary to get past the pain. Just let it go. Just put it down. All that time you've been turning this thing around in your head, analyzing it, asking yourself all manner of questions. Why this? Why that? You know what? The future, the answer to these questions doesn't matter, but the future does. So let go and move on. My name is Kojo Yankson, and there's no room in my future for those who ruined my past. Good morning, Ghana.
Hello, good morning and welcome to the AM News with me, Mapisa Sibidi. Now, in our first story, government has announced an ambitious project to construct 11,000 kilometers of roads, 120 bridges and 20 interchanges between this year and 2024. According to Roads and Highways Minister Kwesi Amoako-Atta, these projects, which will cost billions of Ghana cedis, are in furtherance of government's commitment to improve the road network in the country. He spoke at a press briefing.
We have programmed to do between 2021 and 2024 11,000 kilometers of road, out of which we are convinced and we are hopeful and we are confident that 6,000 would have seen total completion, and the remaining 4,000 would have been at different stages of completion, some of them substantial completion by 2024. This is the program for the road sector that has been put forward by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa's government. And let me remind you that between 2017 and 2020, we had done and completed 4,000 kilometers of road. If you come to bridges, we have programmed 200 bridges across the nation, and we have the statistics for each one of them. We have their age portfolios, we have their lengths, their width, and we know what is supposed to be done in each of these 200 bridges. We have tasked ourselves to complete at least minimum 120 out of these 200 by 2024. By the end of his second term, 20 interchanges in our country would have been built. We have estimated 25, but we are convinced and we are sure and we know what we are about because we have programmed whatever we are doing. 20 interchanges. And members of the press, mark me down. Say by 2024, 20 interchanges are likely to have been fully completed.
Government has made no attempt to reconstruct or improve upon the quality of dams that were poorly constructed under the One Village, One Dam initiative. Neither has any budget allocations been made for further work to be done on the dams, most of which dried up during the dry season. You'll recall that One Village, One Dam initiative was introduced by the MPP government to construct dams in some villages in northern Ghana to support farmers to do dry season farming. The Peasant Farmer Association of Ghana, who recently went on a tour to inspect the dams in the Upper East region, say except for watering of animals, farmers could not use the dams for any other purpose. Correspondent Abusari was on the tour of the dam sites with the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana and now reports.
We started the tour from the Cabre community in the Bongo district. This was on the 10th day of May 2021. With the exception of this water in a deeply excavated portion of the dam's reservoir, the dam was dry. The community members stood in the portion that used to be the middle of the dam when it had water in it, and there they interacted with a team from the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. According to the people of Cabre, the quantity of this water only increased because it had rained 3 days before our visit.
After the 1 year, I can't confidently say the water dried completely, but it was not also like it is today, as a result of the rain. There was some small water there, but the rains that comes later on add up. We even kept a law that nobody should fetch from it. We wouldn't have water to even take care of our livestock.
This was the Cabre Dam when JoyNews first visited independently in June 2019. The people had complained that they felt a better job could have been done with the construction. 2 years on, nothing has been done to improve on the quality of the dam, and the challenges persist.
During the construction of this dam, people were jubilating, thinking that after the construction of this dam, they will not go to serve site for the purpose of jobs. Because if they finish constructing this dam, maybe they will get some small job here to do, like farming and all other things. But unfortunately, they have not been able to meet it the way the people think.
Now it's serving at least one purpose, and the purpose of 7 is for the livestock. We cannot get water for construction, we cannot get water for farming, which we expected the dam could serve us. So actually, we are now appealing to government if he can do something better so that they will reconstruct it so that it will also serve other purposes apart from livestock.
Next, we went to the Ayopia community, still in the Bongo district. We found community members including young children who had come to fetch water from the dam with donkey carts and tricycles. They told us they were fetching the water for construction purposes. Also, animals were coming here to drink, but there was no gardening whatsoever going on. The dam is serving a purpose. At least our animals drink here, and we come to fetch water for domestic uses. The challenge is that they have not returned to finish the work on the dam. The spillway is too large, so when it rains, most of the water in the dam flows out. In the Katsina Nankana West District, the team from the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana visited the Kazigo and Kajelo communities to inspect the dams constructed under the One Village, One Dam initiative. Again, the community members complained that no improvements had been made on the dams since they were first constructed.
I was in South, and they called me that they have constructed new dam for us so that we do our garden. So I came from Accra. But the rain season, the time I realized the water was not enough for us to do the garden. So I went to Accra again. It's right now that I came.
The Kajelo Dam in particular was in the limelight during the early stages of controversy regarding the One Village, One Dam initiative. JoyNews visited in January 2020 and found that some farmers in the Kajelo community had made gardens with water from the dam, but eventually had to abandon some of their vegetables because the water in the dam had run out. Fast forward to the month of May 2021. Nothing has been done to improve upon the situation.
We use rainwater from July to September. Then October and part of November, we use the damp water and it will finish around November end. It's the recent rain that put in this water.
So it was completely dry?
Completely. Even when I come here in December, you won't get anything for animal stuff.
The Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana say they feel that government is gradually abandoning the projects, a situation they describe as unfortunate.
We've seen some dams in Upper West, we've seen others in Northern region, we've seen some in Northeast and Savannah region. So if they want to use it to farm, that water cannot last for more than 1 month. So our appeal to the government, whichever ministry is taking over, we are appealing to them that the communities really need the water.
Reporting for JoyNews, Albert Sori, Bolgatanga.
Now, 4-year-old Felix has developed a tumor leading to abnormal swelling of the head. Doctors say he will not live past his 5th birthday if badly needed surgery is not done immediately. But his parents have since December 2020 spent all their resources on medications in order to reduce his pains and aren't able to fund the surgery. Felix is now paralyzed with his life hanging in the balance. Correspondent Max Okuduko visited the family.
His parents, since December 2020, have spent all their resources on drugs in order to reduce his pains, but medical doctors say they need to operate on Felix in order to save his life. Medical doctors at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital hint they need to run craniotomy, excision, and cranioplasty on Felix immediately, as his condition will deteriorate. Georgina Amponsa is mother of Felix
Every December, last year December, and I'm who said Akolanity near home, and I'm starting semi 2-1 and then a papa a 2-1 mamma equipie boadria. The doctor nature's ordinary best machine, and what one want the Kodia half a lamb. Ochari na your papa J report not say. Said you money don't mean your akolan akoye tirimasem nti yemfa nko Kolebu no refer ye ko Kolebu ye ko Kolebu ye ko ho mienu ye ko na last hour ye ko na doctor no o kire se yenko ne yenko ase ho no omomaye omumfa ye kamaye na ye kokwaje na chese e kana e woso no eso ne papa nso sesi a ye hu ska nyina asa ye nante ho sa ska bi enfu ba bi e ma kano 300 million ne akire o se eye yare bi na ho ni tinimu na ba ya chebe ye 1 year ni ye na ye hu ni se na anu ya na ehu ya de wo hodada.
His condition is not getting better. It has further affected his education. According to the doctors, the condition will be worsened if nothing is done immediately. They say his sight may be affected and he may further paralyze in the coming days.
They say I saw ni sisi ne nan nyina odi agrokwa na obugugu fom. Mama bre na mom de omo kan ne se mama mane nche. Aka America kra bi be fekti akola nani. Ebe ma nani afla. Ne nan na ye ne ya no so betimi abugu na gu fom. Mo be ya yare fu.
Unfortunately, Felix is now paralyzed. As of 21st of May 2001, Felix couldn't stand on his own. Medical doctors are demanding 30,223 cedis, 65 pesos, before the surgery can be done.
Isi anso ntimi na dura na do obesusa na obetumi asusa ojina ho na ogugu agufom isrado fo ne mpanefo so mmoa me
On the day he retires after serving as a parish priest for the past 50 years in Ghana, Father Andrew Campbell of the Christ the King Church at Cantonment here in Accra says he will remain in the priesthood fraternity by working behind the scenes for the rest of his life. At a ceremony to mark the 70th anniversary of the Catholic Church, an official send-off mass for the 75-year-old Father Andrew Campbell, who has over the years championed the cause of lepers together with Vice President Dr. Balmea, said he will not relent on doing God's work and teaching out to the less privileged in society. Latif Idris has more.
After doing God's work for 50 years, Father Andrew Campbell, who has served the Christ the King, is finally bidding farewell to the church. But he says he is not going out as at yet, even though he is taking a bow as the parish priest of the Catholic Church here at Cantonment. He is moving on and will still work in the background, do God's work, and now join the Wager Leprosarium, where he is expected to live together with the lepers, to tell us his next steps as he leaves the church officially today. Congratulations on your service, Father Campbell. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
When you left Ireland some 50 years ago, what was the expectation you had when you stepped foot from your shores back home here in Ghana?
I don't know what to expect because I'd never been to Africa before. I hardly ever talked to an African person or mind a Ghanaian. So I was open to anything. I was only a young priest of 25 and I came across on a boat from Liverpool to Tema, and I didn't know what to expect. But I came here and I'm still here.
50 years on, what would you say is the greatest satisfaction you've had doing God's work?
I just love being a priest. I just love preaching. I just love being with people. I love being with the poor and the needy and encouraging in home. That's what gives me the greatest satisfaction. That's helped me over the years. And the more I go on as a Catholic priest helping people, the more I love it, and I thank God.
And then so this led you to set up the Lepers Aid Committee, and then you had a support from yet another man who's also like to support the less privileged, that's the Vice President. Tell us about that partnership now that you are exiting officially as the parish priest here. What's the way forward?
Oh, we'll work hand in hand together, that's for sure. He's always supported me in all my various activities over the years. Nothing to do with Christ the King. Lepers Aid is not just for Christ the King, it's a countryside for the whole country. And I know he will support me in every way.
So you have the Lepers Aid. Now you intend to set up yet another foundation. Tell me about that.
I want the Father Campbell SVD Foundation. That'll be on the top. And the Lepers Aid, Street Children and others will be underneath that. So the foundation will be helping everybody.
Are you having any fears now that you are moving to stay and live on the same compound with the lepers? Are you having any fears? A lot of people stigmatize against people.
I'm with them for the past 45 years, and look at me, I'm fine. So I have no fears, none whatsoever, none. I've been with them all these years. If anybody should get leprosy, it should be me. I hug them, I shake hands, I do all of these with them.
So you rule out going back to Ireland?
Oh yes, I mean I'll stay here. No, I'll stay here. No, that's...
Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who was the special guest of honor, described Father Campbell's leadership and philanthropic way of serving the Catholic Church and the communities as exemplary, calling on others to emulate the life that he has lived with the Catholic Church. And even so, now that he moved on to join the lepers back in Wager.
Just over half a century ago, a young 25-year-old priest left his home in Ireland, left his church community, mother, father, and the entire family, and graced our shores. For 50 years, he has contributed his quota to our society, be it his vocation or growing the extra mile. This I can say he has in all propriety done. His work here at Christ the King and other parishes, his work with the lepers across the country, the Children's Hospital, and the street children, lay bare his unflinching dedication to his vocation and humanity. I'm hopeful that as a Ghanaian, he will continue to contribute to our society in diverse ways. I did not quite know until he said it today that he voted in the last election. If I had known you had a voter's ID card, I might have campaigned.
And that's how we end the AM News with me, Mapisa Sibidi. For more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com.
Okay, so for my end, the Ghanaian Times Daily Guide, BNFT, The Finder, and Republic Press. Let me quickly start from here. And Mama V, I'm proud of this one, so I'm going to not start from the front page. I'm going to start from page 10 of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. And it says, UN appoints Ghanaian as Assistant Secretary General. I'm always happy when Ghanaians, out there lift high the flag, especially when it's a woman. So I'm exceedingly happy about this one. Martha Ama Echan Pobi has been appointed as Assistant Secretary General for Africa in the Departments of Political and Peace Building Affairs and Peace Operations. I'll tell you a bit more should time allow us. But this one, race for forthcoming appointments, Charlie. Call it a mad rush. Mad rush for MMDCE positions. And so we have 216 vacancies. Guess what? There are 1,317 people applying for those vacancies. Is it fitting to ask, waiting day there?
Oh, that's a lot. There's a lot. But it's honestly just like every other position. You know,
so in the Ashanti region, 263 people are applying.
But even this one is small. Police is recruiting. We have many applicants. Military, you know, as in Ghana Armed Forces. If you have a vacancy, if you see an advertisement out there and you see the number of people applying, it just tells you the cycle. This one cries small.
Last word. I'm out for. And you know, nowadays, because you mentioned some of these offices, the military and others, a lot of people have been putting stuff out there that they are recruiting, and they have to come out and say, we are not. Why can't we, you see, to stem the tide of that problem, why can't we have a certain portal or something when we are recruiting? It is only at this location, and maybe in papers like the Daily Graphic, the Ghanaian Times, that you would see this. To avoid all of this, I can't tell you how many times I get people, because they see me as someone on. Sometimes they think you are all knowing, so they'll send you, hey, is this true? Is this? And then I have to run my checks, and a lot of the time it is fake. It's not true.
There was an advertisement, by the way, I think somebody shared on our news platform about the Ghana Armed Forces recruiting, and I think it was in one of the weekend newspapers, either the Mirror or one of those papers. So you can check it out, but you can also go onto their website, the Ghana Armed Forces website, just so you can authenticate if they are indeed really recruiting. Okay, so just to wrap up with the Ghanaian Times newspaper, I wanted to quote some of what Kwesi Amwapuata said. So the 20 out of 25 interchanges we are targeting, we are looking at, per what was mentioned yesterday, 7.827 billion Ghana cedis needed to fix some 2,167.72. That's actually kilometers of critical roads, not even for the interchanges per se. So interesting times. Armed robbers, you wanted to say something? No. Armed robbers kill soldier on prank in Tampo Highway. We'll be talking about that. 3 arrested over kidnapping murder at Ankara. In DR Congo, quite a bit happening there. There's been a volcanic eruption, and it sparked massive evacuation. On the back page, though, Kotoko overtaken after Wafa draw. So we've been dislodged from first spot. We have the same points with Hearts of Oak, but Hearts of Oak now on top on goal difference. So yes, why are you vacillating? Why is your body perambulating? If we put the league table on the screen, this I'm mentioning it because it is not there. It is who is on top, who is second, who is third, who is fifth, that kind of thing. There's no explanation. Pass is on top. That's it. I miss why when Kotoko was on top, I wasn't bothered about, because we're not leading on. So why are you bothered now? Difference. No, I'm just mentioning it because you know what? The seasons are wrapping up across the world, and in the league as well, it's wrapping up. So it's relevant. Whether goal difference or matches won, is getting relevant because we are nearing the end of the season. Let's jump into the Chronicle. I'll do the Chronicle newspaper. On the front page, just continuing from where Ben left off with the interchanges, 6,000 kilometers of tarred roads ready this year, according to the roads minister. But is there anything that we've seen in the past 4 years that gives us the assurance that all these huge promises that he made over the weekend is something that we will live to see in the second term of the president? Amavi, pose that question to me. Pose the question. You work in the office of the minister? No, just pose the question to me. Direct it to me as an ordinary Directed at you, Ben. Okay. No. I don't have that confidence, unfortunately. The presidents are too many. Yeah. Okay. Well, so, it will be interesting to get an up-close conversation with this particular ministry and with the huge promises that they've made. And the kind of sentiments that we're all sharing as ordinary Ghanaians. Are we convinced, especially when they declared a year as year of roads? What did we see? Am I convinced? And now that he's coming back with these ones. But also on the front page of the Chronicle newspaper, Niger Delta gangs attack Ghanaian vessels, seize 3 Chinese, Russian, and Korean off Tema coast. Very troubling. KGL partners join others to raise $25 million for football development. And death of cop at Mankasim Fuel Station. Court acquits and discharges Isaac H. Eshen, one of those
Well, I want to say bizarre, but I'm not sure if that fits. But here's a man who was arrested and, accused of murder, and he's been going up and down, up and down, up and down, only to find after about a year and a half, court finally acquits and discharges him. And he says the police didn't do a good job because the IGP had been there and promised, and it was a policeman who died. So you know how it is when it's one of their own. You get all the top people come, and then they promise that they'll get the corporate. So he thinks that it was because the IGP stepped in and there was a promise to get the killer. They quickly just had to arrest anybody, and it happened to be him. And he went through the process. They didn't go through proper due process, not proper investigations, and they just put a murder charge on him, and he's been going to court all this while, only to finally be acquitted and discharged by the courts. So he's asking for an apology. I was thinking just when I heard it that, hey, why not compensation? I mean, he's a chief, right? So, the fact that people actually thought that he was a killer and he has a fuel station. I understand people didn't even want to patronize the fuel station. All of that. Charlie, you can put all of that into costs.
But that chief, he be guy, the other day, we had an interaction, I think, on the pause, and Charlie, when you see his Fendi shades, and hey, when I heard Chief, honestly, even sitting in this part of the studio, I was expecting to be away front, but I saw the guy suited up and, with his Fendi shades and all that. I was like,
but in this one, with Frank Thomas, so you can. But he's wearing some wild shades.
Okay, so he is the one. He is the one.
Yeah. Hey. So that's we're laughing about it.
Chief Mugai, pa.
I guess when you're arrested like that and they accuse you of murder and finally charge you and you're going through the process, it won't be funny. Thank God that at least he lived to see his acquittal.
Well, at least good for him. Let me get into the Daily Guide newspaper quickly. So Goyle diversifying operations. We're talking about that $35 million project and more in terms of bitumen and what that can mean for Ghana. KGL partners sports ministry for AFCON. MP docked over $2.4 million fraud. We've been talking about David Von D and his situation. Fracas over 2013, a boss report. And just chipping in this one, fracas, it's fracas. Fracas over 2013 boss report.
There is a whether it's cow or cat.
NGC in Court of Appeal over Techiman Southpole. It reminds me of another word, chassis.
Well, like you saw Monka Flacas.
I nearly said something, but some people will come after me, so let me keep quiet. And on the entertainment page, 2 stories I shall highlight. Hits FM's Dr. Pounds marries in style, and I couldn't miss that one. It was just yesterday, and a number of celebrities were there. Hundreds gathered in Cape Coast to witness the marriage ceremony, which caught a lot of attention on social media. So our very own Dr. Pounds, he's tied the knot. Beautiful
in the past,
couple right there.
I used to hear that when celebs, very popular people, I don't know whether to say are getting married or were getting married, they would have people as in guard the place because, some other chicks who probably didn't know that he was getting married would come to the place.
You see.
So I was just thinking. This one is wild thinking,
No, but this allegation you are making, okay, on behalf of Dr. Pounds.
Hey, no, wait. This is not related to Dr. Pounds. You read Dr. Pounds story.
Okay.
And I'm
because the way you switched to that one, and I'm here matching me, I'm a Dr. Pounds. Hey.
Maybe I'm telling you.
Oh, me? No.
I'm just giving you a paw.
You see? If your relationship fundamentals are weak, that will expose you on the day when you tie the nuptial knot. Because that is when all those things will happen. But when your relationship fundamentals are strong,
it's not a papa.
Chica.
And two other.
Oh, Basa.
Congratulations to Dr. Pounds. He hit a big jackpot. We wish him well with his marriage.
Oh, big jackpots. We're hitting the pounds kakrambra. But I'll wrap up with this one on the entertainment page. Have you followed this? Shatawale Davido in Rolls Royce brouhaha.
I have.
So Shatawale got his white whip and started flaunting it in the US and all of that. And he, posted on social media, only you can congratulate yourself, Shatawale. All you pray for is progress, and they don't see it. Move forward, don't look back. You are blessed. Welcome back, KOAD, GOG, and the rest. But just this past Thursday, Davido also posted a black version of the same car, and he also posted, we rise by lifting others, but don't forget to reward yourself. Who de Zuzu just copped my first RR. God is good. I'm forever grateful to y'all and all of that. But it appears they've been throwing shades at each other on social media, and it's all over. Oh, well, I've got a whip, you've got a whip, I've got a Rolls Royce, you've got a Rolls Royce. Hey, but sometimes these entertainment figures,
this is the bit about the game, particularly with these guys, that I hate. This whole pettiness, and they forget who their followers are. Stoneboy Shatawale, the people who typically follow them are not people who are driving G-Wagon and stuff like that.
Have you been seeing the people when Stoneboy comes here, when Shatawale comes here? Do you see the peeps who come here?
So I think this is just, shows immaturity on their parts. I hate this part about it.
But some will tell you it's part of the industry, like the whole beef. Sometimes they cook up beef. Sometimes they cook up these things just to, sometimes Obini album is about to be released. They're just trying to create.
I like the beefs, but the bit about showing what you've got in terms of cars and that kind of thing, it doesn't work for me. Because you see, already now, when people see these things, the young people that they're targeting, the young people who follow them around, they think that these things are real. I mean, they don't know where you got the money from, but they also want it.
I completely get you, because then they also feel, but you, how old are you? And you've got this, you need to, and that's when they use certain corners to get it.
They've got to think beyond the beef, the fact that, Davido is showing this, and think about your own reality and the place that you've been put in society in Ghana and how people look up to you, and do things accordingly. I mean, I'm a Stoneboy person, true and true, but this bit about him, I hate, honestly.
Well, this is actually Shatawale.
But they are all showcasing. Let's do the Daily Graphic. Okay, not to be carried away. The Daily Graphic newspaper on the front page, I think we've gone through the Roads Minister's ambitious plans. But mining firms commit to local procurements is also another story. Teacher soldier killed by gunmen. Full story on page 16 in the Daily Graphic newspaper. Just a bit of the story on page 16. Here we go. All right, so the two shooting incidents over the weekend claimed the lives of two persons, a teacher and a soldier in Cape Coast and Prang in the Bono East region, respectively. The first incident, which occurred on the Prang and Tampo Highway in the Pru East districts in the Bono East region last Friday, suspected to be the act of armed robbers, claimed the life of a 41-year-old soldier of the 3rd Battalion of Infantry, Sunyai, identified as Sergeant Job Kwame Odei. And then near the University of Cape Coast Medical School hostel last Saturday, an assailant shot a teacher, Mr. Yao Eifa Gorman, in his car, injuring him in his left eye, which resulted in his death. We're following all these stories, bringing you the very latest here on the AM show. If you go to page 18, fight against galamsey, political parties must declare zero tolerance. That's Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, the Member of Parliament for North Tong. But in a piece that he also wrote, and he's known for writing such on various issues, he says it strikes me as really strange that in the entire galamsey fight, we have not had one galamsey overlord, one real architect, an actual financier arrested and prosecuted. Isn't that where the fight should have started from? That's a question, that he posed. But he also proposes a few things. For instance, he says the use of financial rewards to encourage whistleblowing in order to reverse the warring phenomenon, which he says is depleting Ghana's environmental resources. So just a bit about what Okujeto Ablakwa has to say. And then the Daily Graphic, on the back of that, did an interview with him. That angle is also in the Daily Graphic newspaper. There's 7 witnesses file statements in Banda election petition. This is on page 19. While 3 filed in support of the petition by the NPP parliamentary candidate, Mr. Joe Dankwa, 4 others filed in support of the declaration of the NDC Member of Parliament Ahmed Ibrahim as the legitimate winner. And so that's where we are with this case, which is at the Sunyani High Courts. And so you can catch up with where it is. In the center spread, Kumasi City Cancer Project Milestone Initiative brings hope is a news feature. On the back page, Hearts leapfrog Kotoko to top sports. Oli back in title contention as well. So, like they say, they will be doing a lot of permutations. Is that what they say?
Oh, yeah. It's going to be like the lottery. If you draw, if this one wins, if that one loses. But on crunch day, we'll see how it all wraps up. But if for nothing at all, though you are not a Kumasi Asante Kotoko fan, at least I love the way you pronounce the name of our team, Kotoko. I love the Kotoko.
Oh, there's a cry for help. Hearing impaired student nurse appeals for support. Not even her disability and challenges can stop her from pursuing her dream of becoming a professional nurse to be able to serve persons living with hearing impairments. That's her big dream. Miss Isahaku Zakia, a 25-year-old student with hearing impairment, has defied all odds and is currently studying diploma in nursing at the Community Health Nursing Training College. It's a very inspiring story. Please read it, and if you can give a kobo, to help her realize her dreams, please do.
Well, let's look at the final newspaper now. EU picks Ghana as Africa's COVID-19 vaccine manufacturing hub. That story is actually on page 8. So the start of it talks about the fact that the European Union has announced its decision to remove Ghana from its money laundering and terrorism financing list. This was after interactions between our president and then the president of the European Council, Charles Michel, as well as at the European Commission during his 2-day working visit to Brussels, Belgium. But the focus when it comes to COVID-19, there's been a statement that the European Commission indicated that the selection of Ghana as a possible manufacturing hub for COVID-19 vaccines in Ghana. This, according to the Commission, follows the initiatives already adopted by the government of Ghana. So very soon, who knows, we could be producing vaccines. Dr. Baumia commends Reverend Father Campbell for 50 years of missionary work in Ghana. Nilante, as we call him, he speaks Twi. I was at that event, and it was one filled with pomp and pageantry. There's Ghana Hajj Board uncertain of 2021 Hajj and Umrah prayers. That story is on page 4, and it talks about the fact that, in summary, the new visa requirements from Saudi Arabia prescribe the COVID-19 vaccine as a prerequisite for obtaining a visa for travel. But both parties, the Ghanaian party and the the Saudi party, have actually agreed that the overwhelming majority of Ghanaian pilgrims who have paid since 2020 to perform the Hajj have not had their first coronavirus jab. So that is the sticking point here, which could mean that since 2020, some people have paid up and all of that, but they are still not going to be able to perform the Hajj. 97% of political parties won't exist if EC enforces law. That's according to Dr. Sribo Kweku. And I found this very interesting, Mama V, because he is saying that a majority of them exist in books but are not functioning as stipulated by the electoral laws. What then are we doing with these political parties? Political party funding and all of that has become very problematic. But interestingly, this is what Dr. Kweku says. He says even the MPP and the NDC are complicit, and that the political parties did not fully comply with directives such as declaration of assets and liabilities within 21 days to a national election, submission of standard audited accounts, setting up of functioning offices across the country, among others. So why don't we wean? I think in Nigeria, there was a point where they weaned, they cut down and all of that. If we can do this to our banks, streamline, why can't we do it to our political parties? I mean, it could even impact positively because then you could have really strong parties, and then we can move from there and even challenge the duopoly of the MPP
My
and the
disappointment with the Electoral Commission is that they're also supervising something that is illegal, and they are proudly telling us how they are not abiding by the rules. So what are we supposed to make of that? Blame the political parties? or see the fact that you're not doing your job as an electoral commission. Why report this to us when you have a piece of regulation?
I found it very interesting, but that's it. Just wrapping up with these two headlines. 33 sex workers arrested at Pukwasi. We saw that incident. And then vetting of deputy ministers designate starts June the 2nd. That's it for the Finder newspaper.
Let me quickly do the Today newspaper before the Daily Dispatch. Front page of the Today, LGBTQS rising again, 21 suspected practitioners nabbed in Ho. The only issue is that the arrests was for unlawful assembly, really. But interestingly, this is the highlight. Also, stop destroying GPL and local football. The two headlines on the front page of the Today newspaper. I think I'm good with that.
Okay, so I'll brush through these last two papers. Atubiga dumps NDC, Ghana poised to produce COVID-19 vaccines. This is the Republic Press newspaper I'm going through now. Soldiers call Kate Jemfua's bluff, burn more equipment at her mining site. But, Mama V, blood thieves grabbed at Kolebu, of course, still alleged, but blood, human blood, of course, there's no substitute for that, has become, you know, our blood banks, I keep repeating, have about 20 to 25% of what they need, which means that if you were to go to any of these facilities, like the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, a doctor friend was telling me the other day, Dr. Sofenyo, the administrator, showed them, you know, some place, and there were 3 pints of blood. 3.
I know.
I mean, I can't imagine it.
So
I can't.
That's why it will be reckless on the parts of the institutions, the hospitals, to also allow people to steal. It will be discouraging to the people who, you know, walk in there and say that they're giving blood. If you can't protect what they've given you, and you allow people to steal, God knows how many of these blood people have already stolen.
Yeah.
You know?
And I hear they are selling them for, you know,
of course,
like 200 CDs,
because people
300
in
CDs.
Cape Coast and all these
dying.
other places rely on the central bank. When I say central bank, not the Bank of Ghana, but in terms of the blood bank, to get blood in a lot of situations.
And by the way, when I say they are selling, it's not the hospitals. I mean, these fraudulent people who sometimes steal them, they are selling them for those sums of money. But Mama, I'll put you on the spot. Do you donate blood? Are you a blood donor?
No, I do not. I think I've explained before.
Right.
Yes.
So 2 Sundays ago, I actually donated blood at church. And looking at how bad this is, I mean, you can do it every 4 months. I think I'm going to be a regular till I see that at least maybe they say there is some stability, because it's terrible. Okay. At 37, at Kolebu, all our major hospitals, it's not a joke.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I'll be so a friend lost his wife. She had cancer, leukemia, and
cancer of the blood.
Yeah, shares how important getting blood and how they had to rely on other facilities most of the time to get the blood. She died, by the way, after battling it for about 9 months. She lost the fight. So yes, I really can understand. But some of us have certain underlying conditions, so we cannot give blood, but we can advocate for those who can, such as yourself, to walk in, not wait for any special event to donate blood. You can just walk in.
And it's very important you say that, because you could actually walk in anytime to any of these hospitals and they'll actually follow some processes and draw your blood.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's wrap up with, unless you want me to do another headline.
I was just going to go through the Daily Dispatch newspaper. There's Kandapa's action on assault, a good step, according to...
But Epson is impressed.
Yeah, but most of us aren't really.
Samson Ladi is not impressed. Raymond Akwa is not impressed.
They didn't use assault
I am not impressed.
in their statement, by the way.
Anyway.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
So the BNFT, I just wanted to highlight $6.5 billion from oil in 10 years, but nothing to show. PIAC and the CSOs have been talking about this. So we've raked in $6.5 billion. That is about 10% of our GDP over 10 years. What has this done for us in real terms, in infrastructure terms, in happiness terms for Ghanaians? What has it done for us? That's just the question I want to leave you with.
Okay, think about the question. You can send us messages if you've got comments and opinions on what we have done so far. Of course, you can let us know. We've got sports coming your way right here on the AM show. Do stay.
For the first time in 5 years, Accra Hearts of Oak is sitting at the summit of the Ghana Premier League table. About 5 years ago, when Leicester needed Spurs to drop points, it was Chelsea who came to their aid, holding them to a 2-2 draw, and that handed the Premier League title to Leicester. And when Chelsea needed an opportunity to play in the UEFA Champions League, it was the turn of Leicester to drop points, as they did against same opposition Chelsea drew against for them to win the Premier League title, losing 4-2. To them. And also we have stories from the Ghana Rugby Union, because Herbert Mensah is heading to court. He wants the court to nullify his suspension that was put out by the board of the Ghana Rugby Union. I am Muftau Nabila Ablai, and this is AM Sports on the AM show. Let's start with the Ghana Premier League stories, where Accra Hearts of Oak went to the summit of the Premier League table, defeating Techima 11 Wonders by 1-0. Legon City is also moved 4 places above the relegation zone after defeating Ediana Stars by 2-0, whilst Kumasi Asante Kotoko dropped points against Wafa as they played out a 1-1 stalemate.
Very dangerous anytime they go forward.
11 Wonders.
Yeah, we see the replay here again, and Mensah nearly surprised. First it was the Chester, and that long shot. But goalkeeper Abdullahi Ibrahim.
Corner kick is on. Chance for Accra Hearts of Oak, and it's cleared off the line. Mo Alassan turns and fires in the drive. Doesn't go too far. Picked up by Jonah Ite. It's Salifu Ibrahim. Big boot for a clearance from Frank Amankwa. That's a mistake there, and Accra Hearts of Oak take advantage. And that man has been probing for a while, especially down that left flank.
And Kojo Obi Jr. will pounce on that mistake and make it count. We see the replay here again. Kojo Obi Jr. with the press here. And oh, Tetenote. Look at him. It was a mistake. Could have had that ball or headed it back to goalkeeper Abdullahi, but instead went with a Chester.
And Wonders will still probe. Here they go once again. Lovely twisting and turning. 1, 2, 3. The shot is fired on target. Attack to the rescue.
Now look at that move again. It is Michael Osei with that wonderful shot, but goalkeeper Richard Atta had it covered. We'll see the build up here again, and that shot from Michael Osei. It is on target.
Very lucky. Corner kick is deep. Phobia Shet will clear their lines. A shot on target. Appeals for a penalty. Not given. Game will still continue.
Well, you look at the reaction of referee Adari, and he was just standing there in a good position to have noticed it. I'm sure we are going to have a great look at that incident. And Tetenote telling referee Adari it hit the hand of a Hearts of Oak defender. Let's see the incident here, Prince. First of all, it was that header from Mo Alassan and Caleb Amankwa together, and now shot. Oh, clearly a penalty. I mean, it hit the hand of Robert Adosowa. It was clear, my word. And Ignacio Joseph was telling the fourth referee Manolo, to look at it here. I saw it.
But of course, the top striker at that time was in action, and there was contact. Yes, there was. And goalkeeper came out.
Oh, we saw it had a clear contact. Let's see, look at it again, Prince. Yes.
So here comes Ganiyu. 1, 2, 3. Easy penalty kick.
Well, Kotoko have started well. They have an advantage now. You know, it was enough to beat goalkeeper Kojo Oseibosu. We see the replay here again. First of all, it hit the bar and then came off the body of Kojo.
Change gear into enemy territory now. Imoro with a decent cross. And that was clear. Okay. So game will continue. We've done the 2 minutes of time added on, and Wafa back in the game. Jude, you did say it. In the right place at the right time. And they would go into a halftime break, at least with a smile on their faces.
Look at that cross from Bote. And great jump from Tosuche. Oh, what a header.
Zachary is pushed down by Awako. Referee says play on. Now here is Awako. Puts 1-2 for Maxwell Abe. Now Mudasiru! Great Olympics! What an instant impact. The man has scored for the third time from the bench in the last 3 weeks.
Was a foul here by Awako. Not sure there was so much in it from Awako. But brilliant weight of the pass. And the timing of the passing is great. The pace for Maxwell is good. Very on surface. This is Awako.
And great Olympics. They are back in bed. Matthew Enim Kujo. Oh, lovely play from Enim Kujo. End product looking for Jonah Atukwe. He goes past the goalkeeper. Settling the opener. Oh, Jonah Atukwe has put Lagos Cities ahead. Beautiful. Cities won. Adriana nil. But you want to give credit to Matthew Enim Kujo. He didn't give up, and Atukwe was also relentless. And Lagos Cities are up by 1-0 on 13th minute.
Enim Kujo, we spoke about the spaces where he can affect the game. It's in those pockets of spaces. They're lovely ball control to begin with. Play Jonah Atukwe through. He's got the pace to beat his man. Didn't really
get a second entry. Jonah Atukwe, the woodwork saves Adriana from the second goal. And Lagos Cities, Muhammad driving forward in the box of Adriana, sends a shot across. That's some good reading. It's a penalty.
Look at the left, the right elbow there.
So that ball against him on the score sheet. AJ steps forward. And he makes it 2 for Lagos Cities, expertly converted. Joseph into Accra.
Now, let's bring you reaction from Samuel Bodu, who is the first coach in 5 years to have Hearts of Oak move to the summit of the Premier League table, and also that of Kumasi Asante Kotoko Mariano Barreto, who has been speaking about the attitude of his players on how they drop points against Wafa.
2 passes together, but it's just that we gave them a goal away. And then I talked about referee not taking away the shine. For me, from where I was sitting, and from the replay I saw from start times, that is a penalty on any day. And I'm surprised that a FIFA referee of that caliber will not see it. This is what I was calling for. I said we should not be discussing the game. We should be discussing the game, not referee incident. You were on the commentary, I think you saw it better than I did, so you'll be able to talk about it.
I see. But the loss clearly means that 11 Wonders will still have a lot of fighting to do. Have they got enough steam left in them?
I think we have enough steam to be fighting. You saw us play in the second half. We kept on trying. We kept on pushing. But that's part of the game. If you miss chances, you're not supposed to be scoring. We kept on missing chances. We were not patient in front of goal. We'll work on that more. And hopefully in our next matches, it will come.
We can only wish you the very best of luck. Thank you, Coach, for talking to us.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Yeah, as you can see, with the tactically, we are ahead of them, and I knew that when we were coming, I knew that we were going to take this 3 maximum points because Hearts of Oak is a big club. So far as you get opportunity to handle this team, we have to do all your best, and I believe that the philosophy and the tactics that we brought into this game, it has worked perfectly.
Did that philosophy mean starting Salif Ibrahim in this game? Because talk was that since he was going to play against his old team, he was not going to feature.
Yeah, as you know,
what his thoughts are on this game. Doc, thank you very much for giving us a little bit of view. Now again, discipline and dedication played a key role in this evening's game. But what is it? What was that key and trump card that kept Wafa moving even after they had gone down by a goal?
I think that it was about the intensity of the game. We considered very early in the game, but then we put that early goal behind us and then kept, pressing. We kept the tempo of the game high, and we were very crafty and clever on the ball.
Now, let's do stories that has to do with West Africa Football Union leadership. And the president of the Ghana Football Association, Keto Kreko, he has been named as the new leader of WAFO, replacing Nigerian FA president Hamidou Jibrila. We had mentioned on this platform that Keto was going to be named the next president of WAFO, and last Saturday, he was being named or conferred on as a president, and he has been speaking about the opportunity to lead the WAFO Zone B.
My colleagues on the high table, my colleagues here in Guarded, now let's look into the future. A future to re-energize our zone. A future to make our zone more dominant on the African continent. A future to ignite passion and to create wealth for our zone members. A future to improve the capacity of our people in our zone. A future to revive and to add more football products to what we already have. A future of great levels of accountability. A future of great comradeship and unity amongst our members in this zone. It is very clear that together as a family, our zone has a massive future. And in saying this, I have a very simple message to our two important colleagues on the FIFA Executive Council, and also to my senior colleague on the CAF Executive Council. Wafubi would continue to be your home. Your high levels of experience and expertise will be very much needed in our forward march. Don't think that you're going to sleep, because I'm going to knock on your doors.
From Wafu, let's come back and do stories that has to do with the leadership at the Ghana Rugby Football Union. And we have reported countless times about the suspension of each president, Herbert Mensah. He has decided to head to court, asking the court to nullify the decision of the board to suspend him from being leader of the Rugby Football Union. Going to the Accra High Court, he said that the action that was taken by the board of the Rugby Union is unlawful and unconstitutional, and he's demanding that they should nullify the decision of the board to suspend him. He said that in point 13, publications that were put out by My Joy Online and Graphic and New Times all said that he had been suspended, and that is misleading, and he wants the court to take the decision of handing sanctions to the board for libel actions against his image. That's what he termed it. And at the foot there, he made demand for 4 reliefs, and one is for them to declare that all board meetings called and convened by the 1st to 4th defendants and their agents or assigns, and all resolutions passed in furtherance thereof, and all actions taken in pursuance thereof, more particularly of the meetings dated May 3, 2021 and May 11, 2021, are a breach of the GRFU Constitution and consequently null and void and of no legal effect or whatsoever. The second one, where he said an order of injunction against the 1st to 4th defendants, their agents, assigned servants, or connected persons howsoever described from calling, holding, convening, sending out notices for a board meeting or any other meetings of the Ghana Rugby Football Union in breach of the Ghana Rugby Football Union Constitution. The latter part, that is the F, where he said an order of injunction to restrain the 1st to 4th defendants, whether by themselves, their servants, agents, or assigned or connected persons, whosoever described, from authorizing any sort of meeting. It has been agreed that on June 8th, they will go to SGM and remove Herbert Mensah officially from office, and this is what he's asking. But we've also been made to understand that they've not been able to serve other people within the board because they are currently at large.
Thank you very much for your company, and it's quite a character we have as our guest right now. He hails from Naga in the Navrongo district of the Upper East region, and he is the first person to have got, the first black to have got a PhD from the University of California, Los Angeles. He has taught economics in his alma mater. He has also taught in the university, the California State University at the University of Hawaii in Honolulu. For a dozen years, he was director at the International Development Bank in the Middle East, and he spent a decade as chief economist at the Bank of Ghana and was head of Ghana's National Economic Intelligence Unit during the time when Dr. K. Buzia was prime minister. He has about 20 published works on diverse areas, including economics, health, how to manage your finances, and more. Dr. Asibi Abudu is our guest, but a lot of you would know him as Dr. A.O. Abudu. He has about 20 published works, and this is one of them. So as we have our discussion today, we'll be looking at this book, Fixing Ghana, Removing the Brakes to Progress. Very relevant at this point in time. Dr. Abudu.
By the way, let me correct one small error. I was the first black to get a PhD degree in economics from UCLA. That's what I was told. I've never done the research myself, but that's what I was told.
Now, let me quickly find out from you. You're 88 years, you've achieved a whole lot in this country. What I've just mentioned is just the tip of the iceberg. Why have you remained so hidden? In fact, this is the very first time you're allowing an expose of this sort for you to be seen and all of that. Why have you remained this hidden?
Well, it took somebody with your ingenuity to get me out. but the thing is that, see, according to a French proverb, it says, pour vivant heureux, vivant caché.
To be happy, you must live hidden.
That's right. You know, this anonymity was mainly to, or has been mainly to give me more time to do what I want to do. But if I were very known to everybody, even if I want to take a short walk that will last about 30 minutes, I might never even complete it, because there will be so many people besieging me and asking me all kinds of questions. We may even block traffic for some time. So my view has been that let me concentrate on what I want to do. If I'm wanted, like when I came to Ghana to work, I was used in all kinds of capacities and all that. But once I'm on retirement, I'm freed from all these kinds of
encumbrances.
Yeah, that's right.
So let me find out from you as well. There's something really interesting about you. You hold a PhD in economics, but you never attended secondary school. In fact, you're only the second person I'm interviewing in just over a month. The first being Professor Stephen Ade, who also did not have secondary education owing to poverty, as he mentioned. What was your story? Why did you not get a secondary education?
Well, the fact that I never had all this before and I still have been able to get a PhD is an inspiration for the youth. It's always been my philosophy that wherever you find yourself or whatever you have, make conditions better. You came to the world to meet conditions that were created by others before you. What are you leaving as a legacy? What are you doing to improve conditions that you have met? So this has been my philosophy. Now, I went to school in Yendi, in the northern region, and during those days, because of colonial policy, we in the north were denied schooling. The few elementary schools we had were instructed not to give more than 6 years of formal education up to class 6. And then a few were sent to a central, a middle boarding school in Tamale to complete 4 more years so that they could be employed within the colonial system. Now, this is the education that I had. Now, I started as a village school teacher, but because of problems of communication with my children, I was put in a place where I couldn't speak the language of the people, so I asked for permission, I asked for transfer. I was refused, so I resigned, and that's how I got into the police. My father was then a policeman, illiterate. In fact, he rose to be the 3rd Sergeant Major in Ghana police history. Now, while in the police, wherever I am, as I said earlier, I like to improve where I am. I wanted to be a good policeman, so I wanted to improve my communication in English, which was the official language, and that's how even I started learning French, and today I'm able to communicate in it in a way. Now, it was while I was busy improving myself by attending classes at Bishop Girls' School, run by the University of Ghana. They used to call themselves Extramural Studies Department or something, but now they call it, I don't know, they have a new name for that department. It was just lectures given by people, and those who came to study were just trying to improve themselves. So this is what I was doing, improving myself. I remember those days, I would read a novel, summarize it in 3 pages, take it to my teacher for him to correct and all that. But all these exercises eventually prepared me to take part in not intentionally, but in 1957, at the time of our independence, I was then a police corporal. I took part in a worldwide essay contest, and when the results came in February 1958, I was the winner for Africa.
Wow.
Now, there were winners for one, a lady from Asia, a lady for Latin America, and a man for Europe. Now, the prize of it, the prize for this essay was, for winning the essay, was a 2-week trip to the United States to participate in all kinds of activities involving very important people, including people like the late Mrs. Eleanor Roosevelt, Vice President Nixon, Chief Justice Warren, and some others that we met. Now, in America, you know, Americans are they're always goal-oriented. They always want to know what you want to do with your resources. So they were asking me, what do you intend to do? I said, well, if I continue to stay in the police, I may end up going to law. But if I had the chance, I'd like to come back to I'd like to study in the United States. So 2 years after I returned to Ghana, 2 years later, I took my exams, became a police sergeant, and then I resigned and then left for America. Now, when I went to America, because my former host had got me admitted into one of the universities over there, the only course I did not understand, well, the idea was for me to take minor courses and get used to the routine of studying at the university, since I never had that experience even for secondary schooling. Now, the first course I took in algebra was the most confusing I ever had in my life, because I'd never had any mathematics at all. And I was wondering how you could just mix words with, letters with numbers and all that. But then, as I always feel, you can always improve upon a situation. I went to the library, to a bookstore, a bookshop near the university, looked at the list of books available, looked at them in mathematics, the books available in mathematics. I picked one, and every evening after dinner, I spent 1 hour studying mathematics on my own. By the middle of the semester, the professor was asking other students to come to me for help. At the end of that semester, I had an A. I was on the Dean's Honor Roll, which meant that I performed very well academically. The second semester, the same thing. I had an A in mathematics. I was also on the Dean's Honor Roll. But you see, when I went to America, I thought that Americans were badly informed about Africa. So my first thought was, well, why don't you study journalism so that someday you can contribute to improving the knowledge in America or wherever else, knowledge about Africa. Now, this university did not have any courses or offer, the university did not offer degrees in journalism. So I transferred to the University of Minnesota, and that is where Kofi Annan and I met in 1960, and we remained friends until his recent demise. Now, at the University of Minnesota, I spent 2 years and then got my first degree in economics and political science, which means I took 3 years to do what should have taken me 5 years. Then I transferred from there to the Indiana University, where in 1 year I got my master's degree, and then from there I transferred to the University of California, Los Angeles, where, as you were told earlier, I was the first black to have got a PhD degree in economics from that university.
Wow. Well, I think it's only fitting to say congratulations on that feat. At least you dignified us in the eyes of your hosts there. But looking at our educational setup, especially as we've started off on that tangent, 1950, the 1930s, you were born in 1933. You got your education in Ghana. You continued abroad. Looking at our education since independence in 1957, and looking at what our education has become now, what would you say?
Well, you see, it's unfortunate, but our educational standards have been falling, and we don't need any special investigation to find this out. And I happen also to have had the good fortune to have been on the University Council at the University of Ghana in 1972 to 74, and had the chance to also interact with students. They didn't know who I was. I just always walked around incognito and all that. Now, our university standards are very low.
What is your take when you move below tertiary level? It's a build-up. Free SHS, for example. What do you make of it?
You see, let's start by, I'd like to quote what Jesus said in, I think, John 14:12. He said that all the wonders he performed, any of us, any girl, any boy, any man can do greater. That's Jesus talking. I'm quoting him. Now, why is it that we are not like him? The difference is found in Hosea chapter 4, verse 6. For lack of knowledge, my people perish. So, if you look at it, human beings are the most valuable resources of any country. Well, I've done a lot for this country, but it's all because of education. So, if for some reason we deny education, and this is deliberate because we can do it. If we deny the proper education to our own children, we are building a disaster of the future. Because you see, as Hosea 4:6 says, for lack of knowledge, my people perish. So if you do not give people enough knowledge, the quality knowledge and so forth, they are going to perish. And if they are perishing with a country.
Right, but you say, and this is deliberate. Who deliberately miseducates or denies the people of education?
I would say that the first post-colonial government we had in this country, under the leadership of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, deliberately set out to make Ghana highly educated quickly. There was a program for the illiterates. In fact, UNESCO sent experts to come and see the rapid progress we were making in making our people literate. The late President Mugabe of Zimbabwe spent 2 years here teaching in one secondary school and one teacher training college in Takoradi and so forth. That's where he got married to his first wife, a Ghanaian. What he learned from Ghana, he took to Zimbabwe. Today, Zimbabwe is about 80% or more literate. Ghana is 70% functionally illiterate. And in my, I was talking once with somebody in the Exams Council, a high official, and 50% of our children that go through basic education, most of which are run by the government, and where all teachers are supposed to be trained and paid better than equivalent institutions in the private sector. Now, this high official was telling me that 50% of the people who graduate the basic education are illiterate. And I've come across many of them. They have the certificate, but they are illiterate. I had one who was working with me. He couldn't spell book, cook, school. He couldn't spell. So I asked him, how were you taught? Where was your school? He said, oh, my school was in Brong-Ahafo, and the teachers were using us on their farms. So the schools became labor camps for the teachers. Now, I asked, I have a relative who is an assistant headmaster of a junior secondary school. I asked him, well, why is it that the results are so poor? He said, well, they have instructions that nobody fails. Everybody is passed wholesale. Now,
at the senior secondary level?
No, at the basic education.
At the basic secondary level.
In fact, I have in my files a copy of a letter which came from one of I think the regional head of the Ghana Education Service, said that they can't fail any student. You see, so if you have a system where nobody fails, why should they even have exams? Why don't you let them stay at home? At the age of I don't know, whatever age it is that they are supposed to have finished the basic education, call them and give them those documents.
What do we do in brief to turn the tide?
Well, the question I will ask is, I like to go to practical things. Ask all those people who are our leaders in politics and whatever you want to call it, where do they send their children? What is happening in those schools? Why can't they copy that for the government as well? It's a very simple question to answer.
Right. To copy from the examples you have.
Yeah, but because they won't send
the wheel.
They will not send their children to these schools where they're going to end up being illiterate. So if you see quality education, and we know that the quality education exists, there are private schools where the teachers are not trained, they are paid poorly compared with government teachers, and they do better. So they're there, we can see, we can copy. At least if you are not intelligent enough to think originally, at least you must have the common sense to be able to copy. And the Ministry of Education knows this. The Ghanaian Education Service, they know all this. I know it. I'm not a member of I'm not in that ministry. I know it. So why they know it?
We have quite some work to do. But you're an economist. I want us to get into some development economics now. And I'll read from page 15 of your book, the preface actually. You write, from all accounts and assessments, Africa is the wealthiest continent on earth. As an example, Ghana has enough natural and potential human resources to exceed economic self-reliance, get the economy to grow at 10% or more each year for at least 10 years, guarantee every child free quality education up to university level, create more employment opportunities than there would be job seekers, and several more conditions of genuine prosperity. At the time of independence, Ghana and South Korea, the likes of Singapore, were pegged at practically the same level in terms of being in the economic backwaters or economic stability with much fewer resources. And we in Ghana have much more resources, but we are nowhere near some of these countries. What are the brakes to Ghana's development, economically speaking?
Well, the brakes are us. Yes, us, our own officials. Because most of the senior officials in this country had free education under whatever the policies were by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and all that. Most of the senior people in this country had free education. Why can't they give it to other citizens as well? And we have the resources. It's not that we are poor. Cuba, for example, gives free education. You know, and from senior school, senior high school level, all the way to university is boarding, free. And yet Cuba is poorer than Ghana in resources and just about everything. So if for some reason we are not doing that, can't we copy? At least, can't we copy?
But you have headed Ghana's Economic Intelligence Unit before. You've been a chief director at the Bank of Ghana, the central bank, and all of that. You know how our economy works. And by and large, it is a core group of people at the helm of affairs who must steer the economy of this country. How well do you feel we're doing at this point in time?
Well, you see, the thing is that I really sincerely don't know. The reason why I don't know, someone may say, but you ought to know. No, why? We don't have any economic development plan so that the politicians and us, the citizens, know exactly where we are all heading, what our responsibilities are, because government alone cannot do everything. Everybody must chip in. We are all trying to help to move this country. So if we don't have an economic development plan, and planning is based upon, shopping list of items taken from, party manifestos and all that, that is not planning. It's not plan. Everybody has a plan. So my feeling is that Nkrumah did that. And within the plan, you can have these shopping lists. So if for some reason, for example, the head of state or whoever, Minister of Finance, gives us some report, mid-year report or end of the year report about what has been achieved. It has been achieved in what context? You see, these the few projects, they are good. We appreciate them and all that. But they must be tied together within a plan. So if you plan properly, it means to say that we have a national economic plan. We also have a plan for human resource development because the population is growing, doubling every 25 years. You must plan for all this. It's almost like a baton race. You see, so the government does a certain portion and hands over the baton to the next government, and so on and so forth. But there must be some central theme going through all this. So when you tell me that, or when I'm told that so many things have been done, so this has been done, there was a problem here, we solved it, there was a problem there. We are not, you see, getting rid of, quenching fires. In other words, running from one fire to the other, trying to get rid of them and all the like fire service, that is not, that's not going to help us much. It's useful, for sure. These are useful, but they must fall within a context. Now, when they fall into a context, the government has certain kinds of responsibility. Several groups, various groups within the country have their own respective responsibilities. We all tie in. Now, when we all know, you see, the whole population knows that this is what we are trying to achieve. So by the end of 5 years, this is what Ghana will be. Now, when we know all this, and the whole thing is transparent, so when the government comes and says, oh, you know, we are running into certain hitches, petrol prices have gone up and all that, people will understand automatically. Oh, because of this and that happening outside the world for which we have no control, everybody now has to pay taxes and so forth. People understand. But if you come suddenly and say, oh, we have a shopping list and we need some money to take care of the shopping list, what is the total plan? It's not there. You know, so my feeling is that, you ask me as an economist, I don't know. Whatever is known about where we are going, I don't know. It's just like sitting in a bus, the driver is driving, and then the driver knows where he's going, but the passengers don't know where they're going. So eventually you arrive at some point, and the passenger who got in said, oh, I thought you were going to, this other town. He said, no, this is not where I was going. I was coming here. The passengers must also know where they are going. You see, for God's sake, let us consult with each other. Let us be talking with each other. Those who are leaders must talk to the people who are led. Because if you are a leader, and you are walking, you're walking ahead. If you don't have people following you, then you've gone for a walk. You're not a leader. So we need to talk with each other. Even within the family, we talk with each other to find out what we can do to bring something good for all of us. You see, and this is our African way of doing things. You are not an individual. African systems do not believe in individualism. We believe in what some southern languages call Ubuntu. We are together, and you are who you are because of the society that you belong to.
I am because you are.
Yes, I am because we are. So if you get into a situation of responsibility, and then you're emphasizing the fact that I don't care whatever happens to the others, and when I say a person or a politician says he doesn't care, I'm not quoting what the politician himself is saying, because I am not interested in what they say or what anybody says. I am interested in results. I don't care whether someone tells me he's not starving or whatever. I want to look at him. If he's starving, I can tell. So he needs food. Now, if our politicians, the leaders, I don't care whatever they are, if they can talk with those that are below them, the subordinates and so forth, there's no reason why a politician should be afraid of being elected. Because if you do what the people want, you'll always be elected. You'll never be removed from your seat.
So do we have a disconnect then between our political leadership and the masses?
Oh, definitely. It has been there for several decades now. Politicians don't talk to the masses at all. Look, I can give you a challenge. Go to any part of Ghana today and ask the average person in the street what he knows about his member of parliament. I'm here. I don't even know his name. I don't know what he's doing. He may be doing great things. Yeah, maybe. But I don't even know. See? I remember even on one occasion, after 1.5 years of complaining for a street light, I pay taxes for that. When I pay my light bill, I pay a certain amount for street lights. I couldn't get anything from my district chief executive, nothing. I kept calling and all that, wasting my time, wasting whatever. Eventually, I had to do it myself. And I'm not complaining about that, because basically we should help the government. But what is the district chief executive doing for me to get to know that, oh, he's doing his best, so I too must also contribute outside the taxes that I pay. So this kind of conversation between those who are leading and those who are led is very, very important. You see, now, if we are able to maintain that, then the confidence will be there. Let me give you an example. In 1978, I think so, there was a financial crisis in Southeast Asia. I don't want to go into the details. All these countries, Korea, South Korea, Malaysia, Singapore, they were all in hot waters. The private sector in South Korea announced and urged people to come and donate their gold rings, gold wedding rings, jewelry, trophies, and all that. They had queues, days of queues. People just waiting in line to donate gold, their own personal possessions of gold trinkets and jewelry and all that sort of stuff, to save their nation. I don't know of any African country which will even get a queue. Even 10 people waiting to donate something to save their country. Why?
Why is that?
Because of the disconnect between the leadership and those who are led.
Let's talk about this leadership. Now, you have been in many pole positions, many crucial positions in terms of being at the central bank. And even apart from that, you served under Prime Minister Buzia. You had some work under Liman. You've been through the thick of things. Tell us about some of the instances where you got to lead and what the results were, and maybe what the examples are that maybe our current leadership can emulate.
Okay, let me give you an example. As I've said, wherever we are, each of us must ask ourselves, what can we do to make Ghana better? I don't have any other country except this one. And I'm sure most of my colleagues, my compatriots in Ghana, they have no other country. Let's make this country better. When I came back as Chief Economist Bank of Ghana, within 3 months I was appointed as head of National Economic Intelligence in the office of the Prime Minister. I gave some advice. Some of them were implemented. For example, it's because of my advice that eventually people could get passport forms from post offices, because previously everybody had to come from all over Ghana to Accra near the beach somewhere there, the ministries, to buy the forms. And then there were contractors who would buy many and go and sell and all that. I said, look, the passport office is there to supply passports, but not passport forms. So if you want the forms to reach wide and so on, sell them through post offices. There are post offices everywhere. So starting from 1971, passport forms were sold through post offices, and now, of course, it has been expanded to, the sale has been expanded to include banks and all that.
In a Champong's regime, you were actually one of the brains behind the Yin Tia policy, refusing to pay certain indebtedness to the IMF, the World Bank, and the whole Operation Feed Yourself. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, you see, the thing is that I don't want to go into too many details, but when at Champong Stage School, it took some time, I think a week later, they appointed 6 of us to be members of the advisory committee. 3 of us are still alive, and 3 have decided to go away. Now, the 3 of us are Asokore Hene, Dr. SKB Asante, Dr. Kwame Donko-Fojo, who is with the Asante Hene Secretariat, and then myself. The others who have gone away include Miles Hagan, who was Managing Director of Lever Brothers, Dr. Monukwe, who was Principal Secretary of Ministry of Finance, and then Dr. Frimpong Asa, who was my boss, but in this committee we're all members together. He was governor of the central bank. Now, we had to work together, because the soldiers didn't tell us what their policy was. Maybe they had none. But we had to work together to find out what was in the interest of Ghana. So in talking with various groups, various concerned people and all that, we came up with that statement which Acheampong read, I think 2 or 3 weeks after the coup. Now that statement was written from the point of view of Ghana. We didn't consult any institution, unlike previous statements which, they had to consult the World Bank, IMF, they call them development partners or something, partners in development. I don't know about that one. Now, so we came up with this statement. Now, within that committee, I was put in charge of looking over what was going on in the northern and upper regions, then also over the agriculture and food situation. Now, the 6 of us were asked to come up with an economic statement that the head of state could read to the country and also to the world. But we just couldn't just sit down and then put up something like that. We had to consult. We consulted a lot. I was the informal secretary because I was the only one amongst them who could type. So that statement never got out to any source in Ghana. It was between us and Burma camp, the people in Burma camp.
Wow.
That we visited about almost every 2 days to let them know what we're thinking and to hear what their reactions were. Eventually, we wrote that statement, which Acheampong read, and for the first time, 2 weeks or so or more after the coup, the Ghanaians and the world got to know what the new government policy was going to be. Now, in putting the statement together, we looked at it from Ghana's point of view only, and not from any other. We didn't consult any institution. We didn't, unlike previous situations, we didn't consult the IMF, the World Bank representatives in Ghana and all that. And so when this statement was read, we noticed that within 2 weeks after that, the senior officials of the IMF and the World Bank left Ghana, which meant they were not going to implement projects here. And you see, the IMF and the World Bank, they act to protect the interests of the West. So the Western countries also were not prepared to implement any policy. And so we're going to be short of foreign exchange. And I suppose the expectation from that side, from the IMF side, was that Ghana will come back again, cap in hand, begging for assistance. Now, it was at that time that the late Felix, Colonel Roger Felix, called me to his office. He was then Commissioner for Trade. He asked me whether I could run the import program of Ghana. And I said, well, I thought I could. And their government will never be forgotten for it. The first day I sat at my desk to look at the statistics as to how much we had of foreign exchange and all that at the Bank of Ghana, I noticed there was nothing. We didn't have money for imports.
There was nothing in the coffers.
It's so small. I can't remember what it was. Maybe less than $10,000 or what. I don't know what it was. Very, very small. So I would say it was basically practically nothing. Apart from that, we owed about $300 million from the previous year in terms of having imported more than we exported. So here we were, $300 million in the red. Apart from that, we had nothing for imports. I couldn't go back to the government and say, well, no money, so no work. That's why I was put there, to make sure that things will work. So I spent about a week or two pondering, sincerely pondering and wondering, I tried to find out, how do we get our hard currency, and how do we use it? Then I realized, maybe from my police training, which I was imparting to my police recruits when I was an instructor in the police, I realized that there was a lot of theft, a lot of filter. The money was flowing into private pockets. Corruption, as it still happens today. My estimate is that out of total government revenues each year, maybe conditions have changed, I don't know, but my feeling is that at least between 30 and 50% of the money goes into private pockets through waste, through corruption, through fictitious contracts and all that sort of stuff. So I started plugging the loopholes. Within 6 months, I was able to get a total of $1.6 billion.
$1.6 billion.
Billion dollars. But that was out of the section of the economy over which I had any authority. If I had authority over the whole economy, I don't think Ghana will even have to increase taxes at all. So I started issuing import licenses, and those businessmen who were active at that time, they will bear witness that they were getting import licenses earlier than they used to. Previously, they get them towards the end of the year, they all rush and all that. And of course, when you rush, the prices go up, stealing increases and all that sort of stuff. So I gave them enough time to get the goods in. And if you ask those people who were around, everything was done. People who even apply for import line for their cars, they didn't have to come to Accra to. I mean, everything was done smoothly. But you see, at the same time, of course, because of how much we were able to get, those days our import was about $1 billion. We were able to take care of everything. But simultaneously, on the Economic Advisory Committee, I was asked to keep an eye, as I said earlier, not only on the two northern regions, but also, I'm talking about northern region and upper region. That time there was no upper west. Yes. I was also asked to look over what was going on in agriculture and the food situation, because the food situation was very critical. Food prices were too high. But in January of 1972, like any other January, we had just about 4 to 5 months to get farming organized. But yet, I was not in any executive function in connection with agriculture. All I did was the current structure of Ministry of Agriculture. I was the one who changed it. The previous structure was not going to help us at all. So I recommended, it was approved, and the structure was changed. But then sitting because at that time I had enough influence as a member of the advisory committee, I could watch and see what was going on and make sure that things were going the right way. But I didn't take part in giving instructions to anybody. So I was not a minister, I was not a chief director, but I was an advisor. But I had the power during that particular regime, because of what we were supposed to do, to give instructions and, no, not to give instructions, but to give directions and all that. Those ideas that I implemented as an advisor to the ministry, making sure things were done correctly, is what Ghanaians now associate with the success of the Operation Feed Yourself. Now, why is it that the Operation Feed Yourself lasted for 3 years? Notice how long I was given the job to do.
I see.
And why is it that, for the 3 years I was sitting in the same job, Ghana never got $1 foreign loan or foreign aid from any source? It lasted 3 years. Why? Because I was then sitting there and making sure that this would happen.
So we can actually do without borrowing so much. Now we find ourselves in a bit of a hole when it comes to borrowing.
Look, I can assure you, we don't need to borrow. We don't need to borrow. You see, if you want to borrow money, first of all, clean your backyard. Make sure you can do some savings here and there. We must do that first. And if we do it correctly, plug the loopholes, reduce the corruption and all that, we should have enough money to take care of everything, sincerely. Because if I could do it as a single individual sitting at one place, I was not a minister, I was not the chief director, well, then it means that more people with more brains, because they say 2 heads are better than one, they should be able to do it better than I did.
Now, talking about change, some of the change you speak of, tell us a bit about why you think the 1992 Constitution is not fit for purpose.
Okay, now let me put on my political science cap. You see, the 1992 Constitution, I don't know where it draws its inspiration from, but it's completely, it doesn't obey the laws of democracy.
Why not?
Why? Because you see, democracy basically says that we should have 3 separate wings, all of them independent of each other, equal weight and all that. But we have the 1992 Constitution, which I consider a coup d'etat.
You consider the 1992 Constitution a coup d'etat?
Yes, that's my personal opinion.
How so?
I'm looking at the results, not the cosmetics. I'm looking at the results. You see, when you look at it, the 1992 Constitution was the change from a dictator wearing military uniform to a dictator wearing civilian clothes. But the way in which this particular official was administering Ghana did not change, really. Because if the president appoints the Chief Justice, all the judges, you know, half of ministers must be members of parliament, which means you are mixing the executive with the legislative. They are supposed to be independent. Because if you are minister of a particular ministry, how are your colleagues, if you are a member of parliament at the same time, your colleagues are not going to grill you and really scrutinize you very well, scrutinize your activities very well, because you are one of them. And you can lobby them, they would rather praise you for what you have done when you deserve no praises at all. They must be independent of each other. The president does his executive work, asks for whatever resources it wants, the legislature approves and also monitors what goes on. The judiciary must be independent and all that sort of stuff. We don't have that to begin with. Then in addition to that, all the chief executives, all the top people are supposed to be appointed by the same president, the same head of state. Of course, they say with advice from the Council of State, but the Council of State is a decorative thing. How many Ghanaians know about the Council of State? And apart from that, whatever ideas they've shared with the president, we don't even know, you see. So the Council of State is just a piece of decoration, just like most of our ministries are also decorations, because they are there. They say the ministry of this, you go there, they are not doing what they are supposed to be doing anyway. And why do I say that? Ask the people. I always go back to the people, ask them. They say there's a ministry which is supposed to do A, B, C, D for you. How do you feel? Are you getting the services? Just ask the people, not me. But anyway, so when you look at it, when the president appoints everybody, so to speak, what do you call that? You call that dictatorship, you know? Now,
But we are a democracy. You call that a dictatorship?
Well, you are in a democracy. Prove it to me. What is it?
We go for elections. People supposedly express their thoughts freely. We are able, at least to some level, to express ourselves.
Yeah, no. Really, democracy doesn't mean you cannot, the absence of democracy doesn't mean you cannot express yourself. But you see, that's why I say I'm putting on my cap as a political scientist. I've studied all kinds of governments from pre-Plato right down to contemporary things through the church hegemony and all that. We studied all those kinds of things. I don't know where this constitution gets its inspiration from, sincerely. And is it working well for us? I don't know.
Do you think we should change it?
What's that?
Do you think we should change it?
Oh, yes. In fact, my suggestion is that, you see, our population doubles every 25 years. And my feeling is that the Constitution, whenever we get a new one, should include within the provision that every 25 years we have a new Constitution. Because, you see, if you have to have a democracy, you cannot tie people of the future, Ghanaians of the future, to obey what Ghanaians of today do, because the future will be a different situation altogether. So how can the people of today predict what will happen? They are not omniscient to predict what will happen 20, 30, 40 years from now. So it is wrong according to democracy. Democracy says one man, one vote. So if it's one person, one vote, then the ideas that the people have today dictating what people should do in the future. I think this is not correct. That's not democracy.
Okay. Now, as we get ready to wrap up, let's talk about this entire enterprise at the Wesley Girls High School. You're a Muslim. You followed that situation where supposedly they are not allowed to fast. But mind you, it's said to be an across-the-board decision.
whether you're Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, you don't fast as a student. It's become a thorny matter. A lot of people have waded into the conversation. The Muslim caucus in Parliament, we've had members of Parliament discourse on it, all the way to the very top. What's your take on that? Are we making a mountain out of a molehill?
I think we are making a mountain out of a piece of sand. You see, and the reason is that I have not followed it. You are telling me this. But what I'm saying, you see, the word fast differs in different religions. I think in Christianity, it is before midnight until some other time. In Islam, it's from dusk. In other words, you take a breakfast, if you wish to, and then the only meal you miss is lunch. Dinner comes after you break your fast. So why this hullabaloo by all these prominent people? They don't have other things to do? To be talking about missing a lunch. Because that's what it looks like. Now, if a child comes, let's say that the child comes and says, I just don't want to eat. Should you force him or her to eat? Should you? Even in medical conditions where patients come and the relatives say, no, we don't want blood transfusion. Then the doctor says, look, I have a responsibility to save lives and all that sort of stuff. If this is your point of view, I cannot force you, but sign this undertaking to free me, to prevent me from being prosecuted for not being a good doctor. So if the parent signs it and so forth, the doctor has to obey, because the doctor should not be a dictator. So my feeling is that if for some reason, just by missing one lunch, I live on 2 meals a day anyway. All my life, I've lived on 2 meals a day.
So much ado about nothing.
Much ado about nothing. And also, is this the most important issue that all these top people should be dealing with? Don't we have many more national situations? They're talking about somebody who is even wealthy enough to say, I'm fasting. What about those people who don't even know where the next meal is going to come from? Why don't they go and talk about that? What can we do to help these poor, starving people in the streets at Badina, everywhere you go, homeless people? There are so many more issues.
Worthy of discussion. But at least one bit that I'd like us to end with is this, at least to celebrate you. You won the Presidential Award, the Grand Medal, Order of the Volta, Civil Division, one of Ghana's highest honors. This was under President Kufuor?
Yes.
When was this, and what was the explanation for receiving the award?
Well, I don't know. I would say that, because I didn't know much about it until I got a letter saying that I had this award. But I would say that maybe during the period that I served my country, eventually I was made unemployed for 3 years in this country, simply because I worked very hard, honestly, no corruption at all.
Was this under the Liman administration?
Yeah, I was made unemployed under the Liman, but he was president, he was far away. I was made unemployed by the governor. I don't want to mention names here, because the governor himself was obeying instructions from outside, externally imposed instructions. Because many of our governments, many of our countries, we think we are free. We're not free. I took some action, which was in favor of Ghana. And that action was to make sure, at that time I was head of the Upper Region Agricultural Development Program, and I sacked some expatriates for incompetence. And then within less than a few months, within a month or two, things speeded up. And then eventually I was told that I had resigned when I never resigned, and this can only happen in Ghana. There's nothing to show that I ever wanted to resign. You see, if I wanted to, I wouldn't even have come to work for my country. So maybe after all these things, like my contribution to the economy, there are many things I've done. I was always seconded from one thing to another and so on, to do all kinds of things. I think it was in the wisdom of the Kufuor administration, when they looked at my record and other things, they decided that I deserved this. So 20 years after I was my country, was deprived of me because I think those officials were acting on their own, selfish, tribalistic, and ready to obey foreign officials and all that sort of stuff. 20 years after that, I was honored with this thing, which was better while I was alive than to be done posthumously.
But you never picked up your award.
I never went
for the ceremony.
I never went because, as I told you earlier, the French proverb, pro vivant heureux, vivant caché, I didn't want to, I don't like to be photographed in any situation at all. I don't. So because I would be photographed in the glare, and all that, I decided not to go. But a month later, it was sent to me by a messenger. So I said, well, thank you. Even right now, I don't know where it is because it's a coin you cannot spend. And in Ghana, if you're honored, it's just like a footnote. They don't use you, you're not being used. I'm not asking to be used. I'm not looking for any work, you see. But the thing is that you're discounted. It's just a footnote. It happened, that's it. But what is this value? I don't know.
Well, it's been more than insightful having this interaction with you, and I would proffer this book, Fixing Ghana, Removing the Brakes to Progress, to all of you to actually take a look at. It's been a wealth of knowledge for me, and who knows if our leaders could take a cue from some of these things. Of course, no one is the repository of all knowledge, but who knows what we could actually get from this book. Well, this is how far we have come in this discourse, and I'd like to say a very big thank you to Dr. Asibi Abudu, Dr. A.O. Abudu, as is your pen name. Thank you so much for this engagement, this privilege. We're very grateful, and we wish you the very best, long life, and much more good health and strength to continue contributing to Mother Ghana. God bless you, sir.
Thank you very much, and may yours be better.
Thank you.
Let's go to Cape Coast first. Richard Kojonyako is my colleague, and he reported on this incident of the head teacher who was shot dead in Cape Coast. Richard joins us via Zoom. Richard, good morning. I'm not sure it's such a very good morning in Cape Coast. Have people gotten over the shock? Because this is Cape Coast we're talking about. This is Abra we're talking about. These things don't happen.
Yes, they hardly happen. I'm not sure I've witnessed or heard any incident of a sort before in Cape Coast. And the fact that this is like a hired assassin, they didn't pick anything. So it's not like an armed robbery case where they struggle with a person for a property or money or anything from him, and then his resistance led to them shooting him. No, this is not a case like that. This is someone who had returned from work and parked the car, was almost about stepping out when the sound of the gun was heard. And there were no traces as to who might have done that. Right now, there are narratives, two of them, that are making rounds. And if the police have also come out with an update, and that ostensibly corroborates what we have put out. So they have not been able to tell us that they have arrested one person, two people, or they have only indicated to us that they have arrested. They have indicated to us that they are still on their investigation. Now, what happened really was that this man, we're told, returned from a census training, came to park the car, was about moving out of the car when he was shot. When it happened, the co-tenants felt that it was a knockout or a cast eye that has burst. And so most of them went to their windows and peeked. only for the wife to come out screaming that they should come and help him. It's the husband. When they went, the person had allegedly shot him through the driver's side, the window, through. So the gun was put to his head. So if you look at how the thing happened, the person might have shot him at close range. And so that was what happened. So they called in the police, they came to help them. And then by the time they got to the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, the person had already died. And so the body has been preserved at the mortuary of the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital. The police came there, they have picked materials there. They came to pick some fingerprints, other materials that would aid them in their investigation. Right now, we also saw that there was also a CCTV camera. So about 5 of them, but 2 were pointing to the direction where this incident happened. It is not a gated facility. It's a facility where workers, reside. So yesterday when I went there, I saw about 12 cars that were parked in the yard. They drive in, they park. So everybody has a parking space. And so this Mr. Gorman, Dr. Stink's parking place is right in front of his door. So every day when he returns from work, he parks in front of the house and then moves in. But so no one knows. There is a wall there. And people are speculating that the person might have climbed the wall and shot him, or the person might have hidden behind any of the cars and then shot their targets. So now they do not really know what to believe. There are 2 narratives. The one narrative indicates that after the census program, he and his friend went to the Breeze, a popular beach sports around the University of Cape Coast, and there was a heated political argument that led to the stabbing of one. That one we are yet to confirm. It's one of the leading stories around this thing. So and they said that one has been stabbed. So we are yet to trace to know the friend who was stabbed. And so those who believe in this narrative feel that the people that stabbed the friend, they were the same people that traced him to go and kill him. Another narrative is that he had a few issues in the school he hates, and it might be one of the teachers that might have done that. So this is another narrative that the police are picking on. Yesterday, they picked some of the teachers for questioning. We do not know because the police have not indicated that in their report. We cannot go. So these are the things that are happening around this murder case.
But could you describe this vicinity again to us to help us understand better? What's this location?
So this is Abra, adjacent the new Cape Coast Sports Stadium, and then directly opposite the Cape Coast at the University of Cape Coast Medical School Hostel. So opposite the medical school hostel. At the frontage of the house, we have a restaurant and a drinking pub. So the incident happened between 7:30 and 8 p.m. It is not that too late, so people were there having fun, eating, drinking. And so it was behind this restaurant and then the drinking pub that this incident happened. When it happened, just as I indicated, the co-tenant felt that it was a sound, maybe a best tire or a knockout or something, only for them to come out. So there is a road that stretches from the Cape Coast Stadium Junction to Akotocher, and then that road also leads to the University of Cape Coast. So it is within town. It is situated within town. It's not really an outskirts of Cape Coast. And people are dumbfounded. They are traumatized, especially the co-tenants there, because when it happened, a lot of them told me that they had to send their kids to their relatives elsewhere because they do not know whether the person, the assailant, was still lurking around. And Mr. Gorman was not only their target, but they were targeting other people to also prey on. And so that is really where the action really took place.
Yeah, but Richard, again, whoever did this, whether it's a group or a single person, they did not, or he or she did not take anything from him.
No, there is no indication like that. And from what the police came to do and from the narration so far, it is something that was expertly, executed. The person might have hidden somewhere, either on the wall or behind any of the cars and then shot him. And as soon as the sound came, the person vanished. They do not know where the person died, whether the person scaled the wall and then ran away, or died through the bushes, or even passed through. There is not also any indication about a motorbike that was used in committing this crime, or even a vehicle, so that they would even suggest a movement, unless the CCTV footages are made available to the police, that they would know that, okay, these were the surreptitious movement that went on at that particular point in time, for them to know who exactly might have done this act. And so they took absolutely nothing. Yesterday, when I had the interaction with the police, because he was shot through the window, and so you see in the car some of the broken glasses, and even on the floor some of the broken glass. So the person did not make any attempt whatsoever in entering the car. I think Mr. Goma was the target, and then the target was achieved. And so after achieving the target, they took to their heels and then they went. So we don't know whether it's one person or a group of people that came or something. But what happened if there are a lot of people, about 15 tenants in a particular compound house, and then no one saw traces of who might have done that, and then where they are, it will be very difficult for someone to just come, kill the person, and then run away without any trace. And so it's a bizarre incident that it's a puzzle that they would want to unravel.
Absolutely. We'll be watching closely. But let's talk about the family, because he left behind a wife and 3 children, I understand. How are they holding up?
Well, so when the incident happened, the family were taken away from the house they reside now to a family house. And so yesterday, a lot of people went there to condole with them. The teachers from his school also went there. The police also went there to the place. So people will come to the scene where the incident happened, and then they will proceed to go to the family. They are indeed traumatized. If you look at Mr. Gorman has been a radio presenter. He's one of the pioneers of ATL FM, the campus-based, our affiliates. And so he's been there. Anyone in Cape Coast who has been there for a very long time knows the name Dr. Stink. And he rose to become the head teacher of the Ansapetu Anglican Basic School. And so the co-tenant told me that this is really a shocker, and they do not know whether the person that did this act is still around and want to do that, because it's not happened in Cape Coast before. It's never have I heard. You only hear that, okay, armed robbery attack, there will be a struggle, and then if there's a resistance, and then the person will be shot or injured or something. But for someone to just come and take someone down like that, it's never happened. And so it left many people talking and wondering. People say that, well, so when we go to work, then we certainly must return to our various homes very early. But I tell you what, that this incident happened between 7:30 and 8 p.m. It's not that late. Cape Coast is a very peaceful place that around 10, 11, you can move about doing your own thing without anything. And so it's really mind-boggling. It's something that the people here, the residents here, cannot come to terms with.
Yeah. Well, Richard, I mean, it's such a shock to those of us who are in Accra. And yesterday I heard people saying, oh, these things happen usually in Accra and not in places like Cape Coast. So we will leave it here so that you can follow on the angle of the police. As we know it, no arrest has been made, apart from the teacher who was brought in for questioning because he had had some previous misunderstandings with the deceased. So Richard Kojanyaku will let you follow up. Let us know if there are new developments in this matter. Richard Kojanyaku is our Central Regional Correspondent reporting from Cape Coast on this teacher who was sadly shot and killed. Let's move on to another matter, also not pleasant. Inspector Ajekumo Wusu speaks for the Savannah Region Police, and he joins us with some details on this communal clash that we also heard about over the weekend. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you so much for your time. Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Good morning, if you can hear me. Hello, sir. Good morning. Inspector Ajekum. Okay, I'm afraid Inspector Jacome cannot hear me. Let's see if we can try again. Inspector Jacome, if you can hear me, good morning. Hello, Inspector Jacome. Okay, I'm afraid we have to try and call him right back and see if we can have a stable connection to him. So there was an incident, I guess, not two communities, but we understand two chiefs, and it's over a piece of land. And the whole issue is the fact that trucks collect sand or gravels from this piece of land, and they have to pay to either one or the two, or that's the issue. They don't know who to pay to or who to collect the monies, and that's resulted in this clash that we understand one person died and there are many others who have been injured. You see pictures of the injured in the hospital. Military and police, a combined team of military and police had to be on the ground to bring the situation under control. We understand there's relative calm in Kijasa in Lansupe. This is near Mpaha in the central Gonja district of the Savannah region. And the misunderstanding really is about a piece of land where people collect gravels or sand, and is who to collect the monies, who they should pay the monies to, that has resulted in this clash. Let's try and see if we can get Inspector Jacome again. Inspector Jacome, good morning to you again. Hopefully you can hear me this time.
Good morning, my sister.
Yes, thank you so much, sir. So first of all, we understand one person died and there are several others who have been injured. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
There's a police officer who was also injured in the process. Can you explain how it happened?
Yes. Yesterday in the morning, the chief of Mpaha, who doubles as the paramount chief of Debre traditional area, invited police to his palace for a land issue to be settled. Mpaha, a small community, the number of police officers stationed there are few. So two of the men were dispatched to the palace. During the settlement, this quarrel ensued between the two families of Lusumpe and Kejasa families, both at Mpaha. So the two police officers managed to settle the people at the palace and then called for reinforcement because they were sensing danger. It was as the result of what happened at the palace that a policeman got injured. He lost one of the teeth.
And in terms of the injured, how are they doing?
They hit the policeman with a club.
And the rest of the people, apart from the policeman who is injured, the rest of the people who are injured, do we know the number?
There are three. The injured ones are three, and the fourth person is the one who died.
Sadly. So have you made any arrests?
Currently, no. You see, as I said, the officers were only two, and one got injured. So when the reinforcement from Bupe, the police and the military, went to the place, all the suspects had already been bolted.
Okay. So you don't have any...
We are pursuing them.
Okay. But do you have eyewitnesses? If you say you're pursuing them, you know the people that you're after?
Yes. At the moment, we have information as to where some of them have run in to hide. So we know by the close of the day something good will happen.
How about what brought about this misunderstanding? Has it been resolved?
It was as a result of the ruling the chief gave yesterday that brought about the class. Some were not in agreement, but how can we say land dispute involving two families are purely settled by chiefs? Police, we cannot say the land belongs to this person or that person. That is a traditional thing. We are only interested in the violence that came after the ruling.
Well, but clearly, you know, traditionally it couldn't be settled. So how about the courts then?
How about what?
The courts.
The court?
Yes.
Yes, this is where maybe one of the families has to send the matter to court before a court can determine. Or once Empaha is a paramount and he is under the Yagbonwura, one of the families can also send the matter to Yagbonwura for Yagbonwura to also look into the matter and see whether the judgment which came yesterday was the right thing or not.
Okay, so, you know, let me try and understand this a lot, you know, to see if it can be clearer. So one side was not happy about the ruling. If we're using the courts, then they could have appealed, gone to a higher court to appeal the decision. Yes. But they decided to show the unhappiness by clashing with the other side.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. You know, seeing as I understand there's calm that has returned, obviously, because your men were on the ground. But, you know, you can't continue to police the place. So is there some formal advice that you want to give to them so that they can pursue this matter differently?
Yes. What I will tell them is, in issues like this, taking cutlasses, guns, will not solve the problem. It will rather bring development in the area down. So I will appeal to them. If you feel aggrieved, there are places you can channel your issue, either Yagbonwura or the former court. Any of them could help settle the matter once and for all. So I will plead with the two families that if you think the matter didn't go well with you at Debriwura's palace, please resort to the other option by going to court or going to Yagbonwura's palace.
All right. But is the regional police command, do you have this under control? Do you have enough men for now?
We have enough men. As I'm talking to you, men from the regional command have been dispatched to the place together with our military support. So currently there is calm at Mpaha, and the investigators are also doing their thing for us to get the perpetrators apprehended.
Well, we wish you well with this. That's PRO for the Savannah Region Police Inspector Ajekum Owusu, giving us an update on this situation that happened just yesterday. So, you know where we are with these matters. Stay with us. You're still watching the AM show.